You're listening to the European Parliamentary Research Service podcast on transforming the EU's electricity market.
As wind and solar energy become an increasing part of our energy mix, we may need to fundamentally transform our consumer electricity market system to better match energy demand and supply and profit from lower prices.
But this would require a whole new range of smart energy devices, such as smart meters. Want to know more? Stay with us.
Electricity consumption is a bit like human activity. It generally goes up in the early morning hours and reaches a peak in the late afternoon. So how do electricity companies respond to demand fluctuations?
Well, until now, they just had to adapt the production of electricity accordingly. So produce more when there is more demand and less when most of us are sleeping.
With fossil fuel power plants, this was relatively easy to do, provided there was enough capacity to cover the peaks in demand. But with the rapid increase of electricity production from fluctuating sources such as wind and the sun, it is becoming a bit more complicated for grid operators to match electricity supply with demand.
On windy or sunny days, there can be an oversupply of energy that needs to be absorbed by the power grid, while on calmer and cloudy days, electricity production drops sharply.
So in order to balance out supply and demand, utility companies need to either maintain expensive fossil fuel plants to ensure they're not left in the dark when we need most power, or find cheaper ways to store electricity locally or redistribute it over longer distances.
Production fluctuations are also a problem for renewable electricity producers who see wholesale energy prices drop when there is oversupply and so need to rely on public support to be able to compete in the market.
But what if we let consumer electricity prices fluctuate? Stay with us.
Switching over to a new electricity market system where demand would better adapt to supply could certainly be crucial for a successful transition towards a low-carbon society, and the introduction of smart electricity meters may allow us to do just that.
Smart meters would allow electricity companies to charge consumers variable rates throughout the day, depending on the evolution of wholesale prices. Now, how would that affect the overall system?
Well, at first there would perhaps not be such a big change. Electricity would become cheaper for some hours of the day, for example during the night, and more expensive during others. Although most consumers would not necessarily be expected to check the current price of electricity before switching on the coffee machine or the hairdryer just to save a couple of cents.
However, smarter electrical devices that would monitor electricity prices and make that decision for us could start appearing in the market.
So we could have washing machines or dryers that select for us the best time of the day to finish the job, freezers that adapt their temperature to help us save electricity when it is more expensive, or electric cars that recharge their batteries when prices are cheaper, generally at night.
The biggest potential might, however, be in the area of building heating systems. Because oil or gas is generally cheaper than electricity, most domestic heating systems today rely on fossil oil or gas to heat water.
But if we were to let consumer electricity prices fluctuate, it could be cheaper to switch over to heating water electrically during certain moments of the day, which would not only cut our electricity bill, but also gradually replace oil and gas with electricity generated from renewable sources.
The additional electricity used by smart systems when renewable energy is most abundant would also stabilise electricity prices during these times, which would make it more attractive to invest in wind and solar power.
So what are we waiting for?
Well, technically speaking, smart meters, heaters and other devices are relatively easy to develop, but to set this transition into motion, political leadership, industrial coordination, financial incentives and common standards are also required.
As well as a new energy efficiency labelling system that would take into account not only the energy use of appliances, but also their overall impact in the reduction of carbon emissions.
You're listening to European Parliamentary Research Service podcasts.